Thank you, Menka. That's a fabulous session, a brilliant segue to what we are going to discuss. I have an amazing panel with me today, and there's a simple mathematics that I would like to share with you. If at all we live a long life, like 36,500 days, that's about 100 years of life. And if we calculate how much time do we spend with our career, looks like it's about 7,000 days. And 7,000 days of your life, where do you want to spend? That's the question. And if at all you have chosen design as your career path, there is no better panel to really go ahead and ask all, questions that are bugging you for those 7,000 days. And these are the best people who can answer that for you. So I have with me here Shaik Sen, and Shaik, say hi to all of us. And Shaik is an IDC IIT Bombay alum who has spent over 10 years in design leadership positions at various organizations. He co-founded Cheese, an award-winning UI UX design agency in 2008, which was later acquired by Neve Technologies and subsequently by Razorfish. So Cheese was one of the best and on the list of NASSCOM Fastest 50. Later, he joined Frog India as a first hire in Bangalore, participating in some of the major international projects across the globe. In 2012, Shaik joined Common Floor as its head of design, and later to Practo as its AVP, leading the design function. Currently, he's head of design at Meesho. Shaik's core areas of design include design systems, emergent design, user research, design careers, and he's actively mentoring a lot of designers, advises startups, takes workshops and classes on design as well. Apart from work, Shaik likes to spend time on art projects, movies, and has deep interest in music and dance. What an amazing, I couldn't resist saying that this is an amazing profile. And Shaik, he's with us and have questions ready for Shaik from your side. Welcome, Shaik. If you're there, hi. And along with Shaik, we have Ramesh Korisheri. I hope I pronounced it right. Ramesh leads the design and site. Oh wow! as a director at Walmart Labs India, he's instrumental in setting up the team and has been managing a talented group of designers across India and US. With over 18 years of experience, his area of expertise includes user experience design, strategy, user research, and design leadership. Simplicity is about subtracting the obvious and adding the meaningful. By John Maeda is one of his favorite quotes. And he believes that great design is beyond screens. And as designers, when one starts looking beyond the obvious, they can uncover a lot of interesting insights. Outside work, Ramesh loves to travel, play games, and has passion for photography. What a vast experience you have, Ramesh. It's so lovely to have you here with us today evening, and welcome to the panel. And I'm super excited to bring in all the questions to you. Say hi to our participants. Folks. Yes, welcome, sir. And along with Shaik and Ramesh, I have Stu Smith. Stu is a designer, musician, and dad living in Austin, Texas. Across his career in design, he has worked with small business owners, startups, and major corporations to create valuable brand and product experiences. From running his own studio to working in-house, Stu has acquired a diverse perspective on design. These days, Stu is handling product design at Trello. Working remotely from his home office, Stu collaborates with teammates spread across the globe to create new ways to engage with Trello. If you are a Trello user, you cannot find a better person to talk about this. What an amazing career path, Stu, and super stoked to have you with us today evening. Welcome. Hello. And along with...
Hey.
Hi, Stu. Along with Shaik, Ramesh, Stu, we also have Vasudha Chandak with us. Determined to find the first right job, Vasudha caught herself juggling between endless interviews, assignments, long waits. We can relate to all of this, isn't it? With 13 companies while having a full-time job, she noticed that it took many rounds of interviews and discussions just to get the basic answers. What is your role? What is the work culture? What is product roadmap? What are the opportunities? What are challenges, etc. And thus, she said, okay, let me go and fix the design recruitment problem. And she's a recruiter today. On average, she has an amazing record of 1:5, which means if she sends 5 designers, 1 gets selected for sure. Yeah? Over the past 6 years, she has built design teams at Flipkart, Housing, Ola, Swiggy, Groupon, etc. She was the first designer of Practo and Shoppo, and she's married to a co-founder of HackerRank. What a recruitment family you are, Hasudha. Harishankaran, reading, cooking, refraining from cleaning are her new quarantine habits. Amazing to have you here with us today evening, Vasudha. And there cannot be a better person to talk about design, hiring, and recruitment than you. So super, super excited to have you here. So let's get started. Can I see all my panel? Am I not seeing you? Oh, wow, I can see that. Lovely, lovely. Great to see you all here. So I did some hard work last week. I went ahead and collected a lot of questions from the various parts of the globe through Twitter, through LinkedIn, through DMs, through WhatsApp groups, and all of it. I hope I'm going to get most of their answers. And yeah, let's get started. We have enough to cover, and we have only probably 45 to 60 minutes. We'll do this for 45 minutes. This is the questions that I collected elsewhere, but the last 15 minutes, the floor will be open and they can ask you questions directly. So there we go. So let's get started. Menaka, can I take over?
Sure, Kathy, please go ahead.
Yay. Awesome. I wanted to make a D out of it. So yeah, here we are. What an amazing panel to start today with. So here is the first question that I wanted to, so the way I have kind of made it is like, it's understanding the entire life cycle and also going ahead and literally looking around the specifics. So each question, of course, everyone, please answer them. The person who it is directed to with the bold, please, I would like to hear your perspective first, and then all of us can add to it. What can we expect in a typical design career path? Ramesh, this question is for you, given your vast experience. What can we expect?
Sure. Yeah, thank you, and welcome all to this discussion. Right. I think if you look at a typical design career path, right, like I would consider it as a very fascinating path, right? Like, and I wouldn't say that it's a linear one though. There's a lot of twists and turns, right? And it starts at the very beginning of, somebody getting into design itself, right? So let's say we have designers or we have folks who have moved into design from various different disciplines, right? So from engineering, from arts, finance, and other things, right? Like, so that itself is like, the first area of introspection, right? Like, so you kind of go through that initial phase. Should I get into design or not, right? Like, so, and then you start getting into design. And then you move through the journey, right? Like, so, and most of us, start as creators, right? Like, so you start building something, you make something out of nothing. And as you start excelling in your craft, right? You start to learn the nitty-gritties of design, right? And over a few years, as you hone your design, as you push your, pixel perfect designs, then there comes a stage, right? Like, so what do you do now, right? And then, of course, a lot of people go through different, like there are mentors, there are, your design community friend folks, or, the opportunities that is available to you at that point of time. And then you kind of branch out, right? Like, so whether you want to, go like a managerial path, or, you want to go like the design consultant path, or maybe you just automatically shift to, let's say, product management, right? Or, get into consultancy, right? Wow. And then again, right? Like, so you again go through a smaller this thing, right? Like, I would see it more like a tree, right? Like, so from the roots, you kind of get into something, you build up, then you kind of, introspect, and then you kind of branch out, right? And then, again, you might further branch out, right? Like maybe you took a path and then you say, that's not the one for me. And then you kind of come back, right? Like, so it's a fascinating
Awesome.
journey, right? Like, right. And at each level, as you kind of adapt and learn, you become a better and better designer.
Lovely, lovely. And to open to my panel, anything that you would like to add on top of Ramesh's thoughts, which is something which our designers should take away with them?
Maybe I can add something there. Just wanted to add on top
Yes.
of what Ramesh had just said. One of the interesting thing about design is that, like, I was listening to the last panel, Tatan speak, right? And he said that design is, like, if you look at engineering, it is at least 30-40 years old, already established function versus
Yeah,
design,
yeah.
which has evolved in the past few years. So I think one great thing that happens is that you learn. I mean, it's a continuous process of learning. So in your typical design career, you're constantly learning, and if you learn fast enough, you actually will reach the edge of where it has already reached, right? Which means that you get the opportunity to define and design some of the, the way the function is going to evolve. And I think that's the most beautiful part of it. Like, for example, today we are talking about design systems, we are talking about design ops, we are talking about evolutionary design, because things are moving so fast. And the careers, even the career directions are getting changed over the time. Right now we have COVID, we will have different kind of, I don't know what kind of functions we're going to have, right? So
Oh, we should talk about that. Yes, we should talk
yeah.
about that. Yeah.
So I think
Awesome.
that's one of the great takeaways from design career, that you can keep defining things. Yeah.
You define your career path. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Let's go on and ask Vasudha about what does it mean to get on the right foot? Like, if somebody is entering a design career or growing in a design career, what is the right foot? Because every choice has a consequence. So if at all I need to really, kind of get on the right foot, what would that be, Vasudha?
So it depends, since people come into design from different fields, different background, they have different aspirations. So there is no obviously one size fit answer for everyone. What I recommend for people specifically getting into design is that before even diving deep, take a step back and try to figure out what areas of design interest you more. Right? Because design can be overwhelming. There are so many umbrellas, there are so many verticals you can dive into. So understanding what exactly excites you. So are you interested in visual design? Are you interested in UX part of it, the marketing design part of it? Because so once you understand, it becomes that much easier to dive deep into those topics and reach out to the correct mentors and seek help. So once you have figured out that, okay, these are the areas I'm good at, or these are the areas I want to become better at. Let's say you have picked up product design or visual design. So if you want to become a product designer, the best part of it is, start doing some side projects. We are surrounded by so many apps, so many, problem statements, something which we encounter daily. Start working on side projects. Get feedback from people, iterate on it, look up Google. There are so many, incredible case studies posted by fellow designers. Go through them, understand what are the things they have done better than you, what are the points you have missed. Get feedback. Currently, the best part of design community, like the fact that we are having this session, there are so many webinars, so many design meetups virtually which are happening, which didn't used to happen a couple of years back. So the design community mentor are so much more available. If you have done the work, reach out to those specific mentors, register for these seminars, sign up for all these portfolio sessions, get feedback from mentors. What I've seen is that a lot of times, when you think about junior designer, the number one thing hiring manager look for is curiosity to learn, hunger, how willing they are. It's one thing to say self-motivate, I'm a self-motivated designer, another thing to actually do the self-motivation part in action. So reach out to these mentors, say that these are the things I've implemented. And if they have a hiring position open, you are the first person they would think of. So you're already ahead of the curve. So you are not just learning, getting the right mentorship, but you're also getting the job offer. Yeah, so I think that would be my points.
There is a theme coming along. Own your career path. You can pretty much take it in the right foot. Amazing. Any other thoughts you'd like to add, panel? anything at all that would help us to get on the right foot?
I would say that like it's sort of, I really like that line around like owning your career path and like realizing that you as a designer, like this is what you're well equipped to do, right? You're well equipped to like envision a new way of things working and a different way than could be like the typical path. But I think there's the other thing around just setting your mindset in the right place, like being realistic of like where you're at, what level you're at, where you can be helped. I think, yeah, one of the best books I've ever read is this book called Ego is the Enemy. It's by this author, Ryan Holiday. But it's about basically putting yourself in the mindset of, like not letting your like ambition and like your confidence get the best of you. Like it's great to have those things, but especially if you're like early in the career, you need to be open to being like we're talking about mentorship. Like you need to be open to actually sort of being like clay in that moment. Like have other people really shape you into the designer that you want to be, and don't be so rigid to say like, okay, the path I want to take is this. And so I think it's like really being open to, especially in the early days of the career, like being pliable. So, yeah.
What a brilliant advice about the mindset also plays a big part in getting in the right foot. So just along those lines, what are the conscious choice one must make to skyrocket the design career? If I want to, speed up my growth, Shaik, what should one do about that?
Okay, so I will touch the first part, like the early in the career, what you can do to skyrocket the design career. I think after you have matured to some level, you can take those conscious choices yourself. But if you are an early designer, I think there are two parts to it. One very important part is about having a voice for design, right? Because you have to articulate, you have to communicate design to a lot of people, and sometimes you're doing that with product managers and businesses, right? And finding the right voice is very important. And the second part too is that either you find the right voice or you tease a person in front of to have the right listening. Okay. Now, how can you? So when we talk about the conscious choices, I think for the first part to have the right voice, or let's talk about the second part, which is having the right listening. So a large organization, a mature design organization where there's a mature design function, there the listening is better, right? So you go there to learn about how other functions respect and listen to design, right? And if you're going to a startup and you are a young designer, look for at least a good leadership, because they will teach you how to have the right voice. Okay, like to give some examples from the Indian industry itself, like housing, for example, housing designers, the reason why they're able to create so much of impact is because the confidence and the voice that they created allowed them to have that conversation in the business context, and that was extremely powerful. So for young designer, it's very important to learn from either a great design function or a great mentor or a design leader, to either have the voice or educate the person in front of you to listen, right?
Wow. So it's our job to really do that. This is fabulous. Anything else to add on top of Shaik's thoughts, which could help us make conscious choices? Any one of you?
Yeah, I think adding to Shaik's point,
Yes,
like I think in the initial phase of the career, right? Like I think it's important to focus on the craft, right? So just making sure that you're learning and you're able to execute. I think that's really important, right? And once you get to a certain level, and then that's when you start, imbibing a lot of other qualities, right? Like, so no matter, whether you're, early in your career or, mid-level or senior level, right? Like never, stop. I mean, you should always be an active practitioner, right? Like, so you should always stick to the design roots, right? And never let go of that piece, right? And also kind of, being more, open-minded and willing to learn and adapt, right? Because design is changing really fast, right? And, of course, we're going to touch upon COVID and other things. That's kind of given a lot of opportunities, right? Like, so it's always to keep that open mind, willing to adapt, and go with the flow, right? Like, so that's
Lovely.
some of the things that
Lovely.
I should keep in mind.
Hone your craft. Okay, consciously hone your craft. Awesome, awesome, great. Stu, what are the highs and lows one must be aware of in a design career path? Because these can have domino effects on our choice making. So what should we be aware of?
Yeah, I mean, I can really only speak from my experience, but I think the biggest thing for me is I've done a fair amount of learning through failing, and developing resilience in those moments is like it's, I don't even know if it's a skill. It's just like a character trait of like developing resilience. If like I imagine lots of other panelists probably relate to that. Like you try things out early and then fall on your face a bit, and then like the process of like picking yourself back up, and like whether that's the project just got torn apart in a critique, or failure could look like, oh, this thing that I really
everyone is nodding right now.
yeah, it's like, and it could be like that thing that I shipped that I really fought for, like didn't have the business impact that I thought it would, and like then figuring out how to sort of unpack where you went wrong. So that's the lows for sure. And I think the nugget there is just working to, to know that that's going to be the case. You're going to have rough spots. Doesn't mean you're like bad at the job. It's just, it's part of getting better. And then I think like the highs though are really amazing. Ramesh was talking about like really honing your craft. I think that there's so much for me that comes out when the thing that I've designed ships and is in production and is out for the world to see. Like few things feel as good as that. And so especially when you're working with like an engineering team where you might have like a big North Star vision, but then you sort of have to work over the course of weeks to negotiate, okay, what is this now, like from a feasibility standpoint, like what can we actually build in the time that we're allowed, and then working to sort of shepherd the design work from your initial vision to like out there in front of the world, and that sort of like progression and pushing through that and actually getting something out the door just feels amazing. So so for me, that's the thing, is like you're gonna fail a lot to get to the point where you can like get to those highs.
Yeah.
So, it's just important to be open to like the twists and turns. So
awesome. That's good to know. At least we know that the path has twists and turns. Shaik, I specifically remember something we discussed about this life cycle where we do go through some mood swings as designers. Would you like to talk about that? Because I think it resonates very well with the highs and the lows.
Yeah, sure. So like we discussed last time, I think this was a kind of pattern that I was seeing in many designers when I was speaking to young designers. And this is like early in their career, they're basically, you have the highs of the craft, because when you do the craft, you are learning, you put X effort, you get 2X results. So the growth curve is pretty high, and that's pretty exciting. And that's, but sometimes after 2, 3 or 3 or 4 years, specifically in UX design, kind of a UX career, there comes a point when you feel a little disheartened, because now if you're putting X amount of effort, you get only X by 2 result or X by 10 result. The curve has flattened out. So the craft bit has kind of flattened out a bit, and you feel very disillusioned, because you want to kind of think that, should I like continue being a UX designer? Many people have said that I would like to go back and make movies, or I would like to go back and open up a coffee shop, things like those, right? And farming is something also like designers have spoken about a lot.
Yeah, totally.
Like, so
I have done that.
Okay. Yeah. But typically what is happening is that during that time, maybe the craft is not evolving, but at the back of your, life, you are also evolving as a person. You are probably getting your, getting married or having kids, or, going through health problems, legalities, financial things and stuff like those. So many dimensions of human life is opening up in front of us, right? And that kind of some way trickles down into our solutioning at some point of time. Now it's no more about creating the screens. It's about knowing that why we are creating the screens and how can it create the maximum impact. So when you come out of that phase, and I see that people now feel much more empowered to do the same designing, but now they're much more problem centric, right? Because they know that I have the craft to create the end result, but it's more important for me to understand the problem more. Now, in the same solution, which probably we're making a healthcare, product previously, the same healthcare product you will make, and maybe the 90% of solutioning will still be the same, but you will be more cognizant and conscious about the choices that you're making. So, and that's again, and this cycle kind of continues. So there are those lows in your career where you feel that you're not growing, but my take on this is that probably you are evolving at the back. I mean, like, you don't know that it's not showing up, but you are evolving. So just hold on. Yeah.
Awesome. That sounds very, very hopeful, because yes, I have heard many designers say, I'm not sure, I'm not growing. And the previous speaker kind of showed a graph which kind of resonated with and said, these are the skills that are needed in the beginning of your career, and these are the skills that are needed in a different part of your career. But you are in the same function. You're growing with different parts, dimensions of your craft. I could definitely relate to that. This is great. This especially comes, as a question. In fact, this was the plus 100 kind of a question. When designers are moving from graphic design into user experience, what is the advice? How do they really cope up with the discipline change? This is specifically to you, because you do have different backgrounds coming together. So please let us know how should we handle this?
Yeah, totally. I've done this, so hopefully I have a somewhat sensical answer. In my career, I started doing like t-shirt designs. It was like how I got into doing graphic design work, and that led to like other print work. Did a lot of branding and logo design, and then ultimately the small like design studio that I was running like had clients coming in for like websites and all these things. So I kind of like eased into getting into the more like UI UX space, and really have like over the last 10 years or so grown into being a product designer. And so I sort of learned by failing, learned by just, having experience, like trying to really like push through things. I really wish I would have had somebody kind of sit me down and explain just how different like doing branding and like illustration and graphic design, pure graphic design work was from product design. So my advice is, if you're one of those people that would describe yourself as like a true graphic designer, but you really want to move into this other space, first of all, anyone can do it. It's totally possible. There's like amazing resources out there now that I didn't have. When I started as a designer, like I think I started on like Adobe Creative Suite, like one, that was like the first like suite that I ever used. Or I know I used it in high school even before it was Creative Suite. So the point is, I'm an old guy, but now like if you're newer in the career, you have all these resources. You have Institute Product Design. We've got like other boot camps that are amazing out there, and you can actually just leverage these resources, and that'll help you sort of set the stage of understanding like how different this is from the work you're doing currently. I think it's good to be able to say like, okay, I've got this skill set, and now I understand what, I'll just call it like product design user experience, what that actually is as a discipline, and identify the things where you're weak. So it's like, oh, okay, I might be an amazing visual designer, but I don't know much about user research because I haven't really had to do a lot of that for my role, or I don't know how to like concept test my work like from a usability lens. I don't know much about accessibility. Yeah, so it's like, I think it's great to like really start early and audit, okay, what are the things I don't know? And then pick the things that within that sound interesting to you. So if you're like, oh yeah, it sounds kind of cool to like go interview people about my work, you can kind of pick a growth area. And then I would say you can also really like mentorship was mentioned before, you can find a mentor who's someone in your town, or actually, locations agnostic these days. But you can find someone that's sort of doing the career that you want, and just pick their brain. And I find it really important. Like I do a bit of mentorship, and like really find it important to sit and actually look at the work. So if you're like somebody had suggested doing side projects, if you want to get into this by even just doing a side project, like design something that kind of scratches your own itch of like, oh, I really wish this thing existed. Review that with your mentor, and like ask them to be really candid about what you're missing. It's like that thing that I was talking about, just being realistic about where you're at in your understanding, and like looking for help and being moldable. So
Awesome.
that's my advice.
Yeah, that sounds right about it. It's an authentic way of really moving from one dimension to another. Vasudha, you would have seen a lot of us moving from graphic design into user experience. What were your understandings, learnings, any patterns that you have seen that could help us to kind of have a better?
Sure. So I also kind of was juggling between UX and graphic design since I came from design school. So on another note, I think one of the pointers I wish someone had told me this was, battling through imposter syndrome. I didn't knew it existed. I would compare my work with all the dribble screens, and it would just feel that there is no way I'm ever going to be good enough for that. So if you are shifting, or, you might be a great visual designer, or if you are shifting to a different form of design, it takes time and patience. Like it has been said by, some designers, I don't remember the name, but that you have to juggle out 1,000 hours of shit work to get to the core craft of it. So having that patience and going through it, from a portfolio perspective, I think in terms of craft, what differs is that mostly graphic design, you can do it in solitude. You can come up with some concept and you can do it alone. When it comes to UX design, working from team, one of the things which happens is the collaborative work. So if you are working through user, you want to switch to UX design, A is empathy, understanding. You need to have a little bit understanding of user research, understanding the core problem space you are solving. You are solving, when you are doing graphic design, you are doing it for yourself. It could be a poster design, it could be t-shirt design, something what feels, good for you. But when you're doing UX, you are solving a problem for someone else. That someone else could be you, someone else could be, your friend, your colleague, or some ex-user. So there's a shift in approach. So whenever, and even in terms of portfolio, I would say what differs is, when it comes to UX design, you will be doing a lot of side projects or case studies, versus when it comes to visual design, you just have to put some bunch of screens. You don't have to actually explain the thoughts. People will see the screen and understand it. But from a hiring manager, the moment you say you are a UX designer, they want to see the process. How did you get to it? What are the problems you are solving? How did you, what are the steps you took to understand the problem space? What was your design process like? So, yeah.
That's solid advice. So stay there. I have another question for you on very similar lines, because there is a lot of self-taught designers, and our universities probably graduate 20 designers in a year. So self-taught versus designers from university. So how does hiring differ? How do companies look at these designers?
So currently with COVID, the scenario has changed. With university, there are lesser freshers jobs. There are lesser companies which are going for campus recruitments. So I'm a self-taught designer myself. I didn't go to any design university. Design and people who are graduating from design university definitely do have an advantage. They are surrounded by like-minded peers. So there is a lot of knowledge sharing which happens. Obviously, you are learning the craft in depth. Second, companies come to the campus. That's very different from people who are self-taught. You have to search and make your way to the company. Here, the things are different. That being said, it's not like it's easy. you are competing with the best of the best. Every one of your friend is your competitor who is fighting for the same job. So you
Sure.
need to do something to stand out. So it could be internship, it could be side projects, it could be learning more about the company beforehand so that you can present some relevant solution when you're applying. When it comes to self-taught designers, side projects are definitely the key. You have to build something, you have to show that you are self-motivated so that you can get your word out. From a hiring manager perspective, when they are scanning the portfolios, currently in this scenario, if any company is hiring, they must be getting thousands of applications for the same post. So
Yes.
so all the designers who are complaining have been there, but all the designers who are complaining that companies don't respond, we don't hear back from companies, there is a reason for that. So the owners comes to one designer to make sure their portfolio stands out. So before applying, read about the company. Let's say if you are whatever designer you are, and if you're a product designer, interaction designer, visual designers, go read about the company. Have your portfolio kind of made. And one more critical things I've seen is that people have all sort of things on their portfolio. So if you're applying for a product designer, it just doesn't make sense that you have some creative design posts hanging around there as the number one thing a hiring manager would see. These are already these are very small nitpicks when you see, but any hiring manager has 2 or 3 seconds to screen at your portfolio and to filter it out that they will have a detailed view through in these portfolio, right? So just making sure your portfolio is sorted and it's relevant to the hiring manager. I think what designers need to keep in mind is your portfolio is your product, which you are designing for the end user, which is the hiring manager. If you get that, you have a way great chance to getting a call back from the company or standing out from the rest of the competition. I hope I answered.
Yeah, yes. In fact, you gave a lot more texture to the answer, and this is great. So far we have been just talking about staying in design, but some designers do want to move from design into product management. So what does this mean, Shaik, especially from your career? Have you seen things like this, and what is your take, and is it possible first? Is it doable? If it is doable, why so? Is it valuable? Questions like that.
Yeah, I think first of all, it's a great thing. I mean, if a designer who turns into a product manager is kind of a unicorn in the product design space, right? Because a product manager who has a design understanding is something to kill for. And we have seen great, we have such experiences, I mean, like such product managers in the industry. For example, just to give one example, Clear Trips, Rush and Sunit. Rush was a product manager there, and he comes with a arts background. He studied in US. He was an arts graduate and then moved into design, and you can see that, and moved into product, and you can see that and why Clear Trips design was so brilliant, right?
Yes.
Right, yeah.
Oh yes.
So
I'm a big fan.
yeah. So it's definitely possible, and in my career I've seen equal number of people who have moved from, I would say a little lesser number of people who have moved from design and made a successful transition to product management, and a slightly larger number of people who have moved from design to product and have come back to design again, right? Okay. And like we were discussing last time also, that the whole so to the people who want to really try it, I would say that please go ahead and try this. Okay, try. If you think that calling is happening for you, try to make that transition, but just be aware of few of the points, which is that you are not only seeing the good parts of product management and you are ignoring the difficult and the hard parts of the product management, right? And when I say good part, the good parts are when you are having conversation with product managers, you think that they are the movers and shakers of the entire company, because they are taking strategic decisions, they are pushing out features, and they are doing these. But you don't see the rigor, the, data-based, the discipline that you have to kind of rigorously churn out data, understand the problem, have constant communication, upward and downwards, and own the success and the failures of, any experiment.
True.
And that number-driven approach. So that's the tough part of it, right? And many people, when designers have moved there, they realize that that's not something that's coming naturally to them, right? And then they have decided to come back. You can still be a designer with a lot more product-centric thought process, and you can contribute there, and they continue to do that. But that's the whole idea, that if you think that you can do those things as well, you can make that transition. Otherwise,
I guess we lost Shaikh. This could be a power glitch. This happened some other time as well. So audience, if you're having questions, please keep it coming, because as our speakers are speaking, something may trigger more questions for you. So put it in the LinkedIn thread or in the chat. We will get to that. So probably this is the last few minutes with our panel. We will definitely go there. So from product management, this is another big question that keeps coming. How about moving from being an IC into a manager, into a leadership role? How do I handle it? How do I adapt to it? Ramesh, especially you would have seen more managers, kind of blossoming. So what is your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so I think again, so even this is a journey, right? And this is where, like I said, right? So few years into your career, right? You're in this dilemma, right? So should I continue? And a lot of time it's about, which takes you faster and other things, right? But my suggestion is, or my recommendation is look, I think you need to be true and stick to your roots in design, right? So whether you're taking the managerial or the leadership path, it's all about, it's good to kind of, try that out. A lot of companies now have these kind of, a lead kind of a role where you don't have to take the burden of people management. I think that's where, a lot of people really don't know whether they can take up the burden of people management as well, right? It's not about your career as well, but it's all about managing other people's career as well, right? I think that's where, a lot of companies have these, lead kind of positions where, you have a bunch of people, rolling into you from a functional or an accountability standpoint, but you're not responsible for their careers, right? Maybe just try that out for a year or so and see, if that kind of works out. And then along with that, if you're holding the people management skills, maybe then that's the route, right? But, right. And again, right, so I think the fundamental, point here is when you start taking up those leadership or a managerial role, right? You need to start letting go of design, right? As designers, we tend to be, hey,
we are protective.
Yes, we are productive, and hey, why can't you do like this, right? Right? So, and I was reading somewhere, right? It's you are not the instrument player, right? You are conducting an orchestra as you step into this managerial and the leadership roles, right? So you need to make sure that the orchestra kind of performs well, right? Rather than, and so it's that inquisitiveness to kind of get into, hey, maybe I should just do it, right? So abstaining from that, and then just. I think you have to understand that, your responsibility is to kind of provide more vision and guidance as people kind of execute on things, right? I think is really important to understand. I think start doing that, and then you can see whether, you like to manage people or not, right? And then take it as form. Take it
Solid.
as a yeah.
Solid. I think it's like a design process. Try, check it out, and then please keep moving.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yes, Ramesh.
No, another thing that's right? So your career is like your design brief, right? So typically, designers get a brief and then you go about defining all the things. So it's that simple.
So I think that's the theme. You own your career path. Amazing. So this is a very, very, I don't know, this question came again and again. So designers must have portfolio, but what about in different stages of design career, and how does this portfolio differ? Because when I started, I was just more doing craft related work, and then I moved a little more strategic, and then leadership. So do we need portfolios in all of this, Vasudha, especially because you're hiring designers and design leaders, what is your take on this? I mean, do we even need portfolios as we move up?
That's a lovely question. Thank you so much for asking that, Krati. But so let's start from, junior designers. When you need to always think from a hiring manager perspective that what exactly they are looking for when they are screening the portfolios. So when it comes to junior designers, what we look for is more variety of work, more, takes of different types of design samples. Like, let's say if it's an illustrator, you must have different design style. You shouldn't be sticking to one design style, because that means that if the company changes, you can't adapt to something different. And similarly, if you're a product designer, if you're marketing designers, a junior designer, they're looking for more variety of work so that we can see that, hey, if whatever design style a company is doing, the person can come in and adapt quickly. And from other traits, like as I mentioned earlier, was the hunger for knowledge, like how quickly you learn, how motivated you are, how self-taught you are, that you will learn and adapt to things quickly. Right? I think on another note, what I see happening is that, let's say if you're a marketing designer and you are applying to a product company, you need to understand what those people will be looking for. So if you're a marketing designers and you are just putting, random shots of like videos, it could be packaging design, this, that, and all. Let's say if you're applying for an e-commerce company, think what is a marketing team at e-commerce company is doing. It could be banner ads, it could be multiple campaigns. So when you are applying, if you have those portfolio items present, highlight them in first. Similarly, if you are applying for a brand agency or creative agencies, the work would be different. So at core, a junior designer, more variety of work, different forms, styles. When it comes to senior designer, it's more about a little bit more depth in the work. Let's say if it's a product designer who is presenting the portfolio, it would be more about what is your process like, what are the steps you have done, have you practiced some sort of user research, what was the key takeaway, and also kind of seeing that the flexibility in learning, and second, how adaptive and receptive they are to the feedback, because you might not know everything, but if you are very stubborn that, hey, whatever I've designed is correct, then there is just no learning. You will be in that bracket. When it comes to lead designer, they should have shown some sort of leadership skill. It could be leading a small pod. It could be mentoring junior designers or interns who are coming in the company. What are the other leadership things you have done? And the second part would be the business understanding of it. So when it comes to lead designers, you are at core, it differs from companies to company, but at core you are responsible for leading a product, or it could be a small feature, it could be leading a whole product on its own, which also means that you are working with cross-functional team, how you are collaborating with PM. So when it comes to portfolios, or when the hiring managers is reviewing the work, they want to see what were the arguments which happened, because no product is designed in solitude. Otherwise, every dribble shot would be a product in itself.
Totally, and I think that is why the question was asked. Like, how do I show my arguments? How do I show my thought process? But from your answer, it's very clear that that is what they're looking for. Your thinking process, your how did you approach that? How did you facilitate that? How did you? That's what your. This is classic. This is great.
Right. So
yeah, no, I just put up this question especially just to kind of, I know that we can talk about this forever, but we are given only 1 hour, and hence I wanted to ask this question quickly around, with COVID, how are things changing, especially with this remote, especially for designers, for engineering, I understand probably you can do the work alone. I'm not sure with the amount of collaboration needed, with the amount of cross-functional. How are things? I mean, please, you are leading a large team, so let us know how are things with COVID. Some are giving rosy pictures, some are saying, "Oh, you're doomed." How is it?
I can start us out.
Sure.
So I kind of got lucky in all this stuff of working at a company that sort of was already remote. Trello has like 220 of us, and only about 60 work out of an office anywhere in the US. And so we sort of had our processes down, which was an advantage. And I've noticed from talking to a lot of other leaders from like co-located teams that it's been just like a huge adjustment. And I think the realization that I've had is that it comes down to a lot of just like new processes and new things that the teams have to do to sort of mimic or replace the collaboration that happens in person. And there's a little bit of like a spectrum of like teams that are really new to this remote collaboration thing are sort of like, oh, we need to be on a Zoom call all day together, and we need to like really make sure each other are working. It's kind of this like, they're trying to replace the office type feel. And then there's teams like ours, which are like, we've been working remote for a decade. So it's really, we understand all the different tooling. So I think there's, I guess this is not like a direct good, bad, and ugly, but the adjustment is going to be like, what is the right tool to use in this environment? Like for us working remotely, we were like, Figma is the design tool because we can both be in the same file.
Collaborate.
Our and our ideation tool is Mural for that same reason. So because we can't be around a whiteboard together, we always just hop into Mural. It happens like honestly in every meeting. If you get into that like abstract space of like, well, what is this? Well, like, oh, let's just open a Mural and like write it down. And then just there's like a real also a real pronounced thing that I'm seeing with the other teams at Atlassian that are going remote is like just fatigue from always being on Slack and Zoom because you don't get to have like the time away from it. So I think that's the thing, is it's like a big adjustment. But I think it's worth like really being intentional to figure it out, because I don't know, like in the next 2 years, none of us are going to be like working still in like the same normal way that we were 6 months ago. Like things at some level will be different long term. So it's like worth investing in figuring out like what works for the team.
What works.
So
that's brilliant advice. Mural, the screen fatigue is definitely true, but I think as designers, we do have tools. Probably if this happened 3 years ago, I don't know what we would have done. But I'm glad the virus came a little later. Any thoughts from your side, Ramesh? I mean, are you seeing, especially with a large team like yours, between US, India?
Yeah, I think, one is, it took a couple of weeks for people to kind of get adjusted to that, new working norms. And I think, and everybody is kind of realizing that, right? Like the situation is not going to ease out in, let's say, the next week or so, right? Like it's going to be a long-term situation, right? And then, so what should we do to be more adaptive, right? In this kind of a work environment, right? Like as Stu mentioned, right? Like, so there's a lot of collaboration tools that are out there that we are leveraging to kind of, you use to kind of collaborate with designers from various different locations, I think, and also, since everybody is remote, right? Like it also gives us an opportunity to kind of, collaborate more, I would say, right? Like, so, maybe just for user testing and other things, right? Like, so, whether it's a business application that, we are designing, right? I think, of course, there are some challenges, but, I think it also gives us a tremendous opportunity. If you look at, right, like a lot of things that are being done offline, right? Like, so where you need to have physical presence, there's a lot of opportunity to see how can that be digitally done, right? Like for all that can provide a more, meaningful value to the customers and to the business, right? So just looking at, identifying those opportunities, right? Like where we could potentially, get things done. I think that's going to be the true, far of, utilizing this situation to the best to our abilities.
Absolutely. We can, with such an amazing panel, I can talk all night. I don't think Manika is going to allow us to do that. So let's get at least a few questions from the floor. So please bring your questions on and let me share it with our panel. So let me know. Yeah, awesome. So I'm seeing that there are, several questions here. As Vasudha said, I don't see many openings for freshers, grads, interns, and product design or UX design currently, except in early stage startups. How might we navigate this situation? This is from Lakshmi. So the question is for you.
Sure. So, there are not many openings for freshers, given the current scenario. I would say that, take the time in developing your portfolio and learning new skill set. It's what.
That's just my timer saying
Okay.
that we are on time.
Okay.
Go for it.
Yeah, so if there are not many job openings. Hopefully things will get better and change in the market. It's very hard to predict market as of now, but it's a great time to kind of, build on the case studies, build on your side project so that you can stand out in, when the hiring market kind of opens up. There are a couple of companies who are looking for, junior designers and senior designers as such. It's all about figuring out what is the value addition you can add to the company rather than thinking of it as a job item. Think of go to the company pages, figure out what are the problems you can solve for the company. Freelancing might be a quick fix for this. Reach out to clients and build on your portfolio based on that. Hopefully the market would improve, but for now, I think that's the best we can do.
That's the best. Okay, great. So, so there is a question specifically around, oh my God, I have so many questions for you guys. What would be your advice for a developer who has about 10 plus years of experience moving to design? What would be your guidance on that? I think it's open for all of us. There's no specific mention. So developer into design, how does that work?
Yeah, I think I also kind of replied to that question, right? Like, so why do you want to move into design, right? Like, I think answering that question would give a lot of, I think there's a strong arts background, right? Like, I think what, like Vasudha said, right? Like, so put your skills, your craft into, let's say, a side project or, build some portfolio, right? Like with the skill sets that you have, right? And then as part of, the interview process, or, you can start socializing your portfolio work with, design community members, get the feedback and see how you're doing, get a mentor, so those all things can help. And then eventually you can kind of transition to that, the design position that you want.
So it is possible. It is possible, definitely. Okay.
Yes.
So this specific question is from Swaraj. Many designers say that design is a subjective thing. How do you define it, and what is the impact on a designer's performance? Is it really subjective? Probably I will start there. Stu?
Yeah, I think if you're talking about a logo or something, then sure. But there's actually ways to benchmark, like specifically like product design work, like from a usability standpoint. First and foremost, like you can test the design to see if it makes sense. Like I've had a few things like this where I've felt strongly about something, and then you put it in front of users and they're super confused. That's a really quick way to understand that it's not subjective. It's, there are mental models to follow. So yeah, like I would just say that like product design, well, okay, the other thing, so you can test it from a usability end, but then also like you can benchmark it from a business perspective as well. Like if we have an OKR set in the beginning of the project and we're like looking to move a metric, then the design and the execution from the rest of the team is going to be really quickly, easily benchmarked against how we performed to that goal. So, so yeah, I would say that on the visual side, yes, there's like some subjectivity, like color palette, like the actual like visual design. But then once you get into like the actual UX side, it gets a lot less subjective really quickly, in my opinion.
Awesome. That's great. Menaka, can we take one more question? Is that okay if we go like a couple of minutes? It's okay? Awesome. Great. So this question is coming from Lalatendu. What skill set should a UX designer, a senior lead, need to acquire to shift to product management? Probably, Shaik, you can help us with some advice there. You're muted.
Yeah, hi.
Yes.
A lead to a product management, right? Yeah, I think uh, uh, like I said in the last conversation that uh, I mean, of course, like you have various disciplines within the product management that you have to cover up. So one is your way of creating models and frameworks, and then identifying problems based on data. So
Mm.
and you can go ahead like you have all the frameworks like marketing, like sales. One of like I can go about like you can probably go and read about this all there, because product management is itself is a discipline and there are 100 things to be done. One big thing that I talk about typically, and I would just like to point out, though we don't do that too much here, and I think that's the distinction between a product leader and a product manager.
Mm.
Right. Okay. So what's the difference between a product manager and a product leader? Let me just first clarify that. So one is like, at least what I understand from, okay, and it's Institute of Product Leadership, so you guys will have a better understanding. But fundamentally, I mean, if somebody is just managing a product, that is one thing. But when you take
Mm.
leadership in terms of product leadership, then you also are managing the sales part of it, right? And
Mm.
selling is a very
Mm.
hard task. Okay.
Mm.
Now I have seen many designers come and say that I understand business, so can I start becoming a a product leader, or maybe like take up business roles? One thing is to understand, and the other thing is to able to sell it, right? And do the business. There's a vast difference between these two, right? um, um, so I think one of the best way to start is that you start your own business and and try sell a product to
Mm.
a sizable number of people. If you are able to do that, then you have the right stuff inside to kind of, then you can learn the rest of it. But a vast majority of designers are not great salesperson, right? They can, like,
Mm.
which is like they cannot do push sales, and that's where a big distinction comes. And I think that's one of the litmus tests that you can probably do to understand that whether you can do that or not. You have to understand, like,
Mm.
are you a
Mm.
designer who sits in the room and kind of designs great products, and you want to do the same thing with product management? Probably that's not going to work. Right. So abstractly this one, otherwise you have the entire plethora of things that you can do to just
Mm.
learn the management aspect of the product management.
Lovely. I'm going to try selling something.
Yeah.
Try.
You work there, right,
This.
Experian? Yeah.
Oh wow! Experience is not selling yet. I'm gonna
I mean,
do
like,
it from tomorrow. No, yeah, you're right when you say that when you're taking ownership and really putting your product or value out, how are you able to really articulate what you're doing? And I totally agree with you that that's a skill by itself. And this has been an amazing evening for me. In spite of listening to all of it and the speed at which you are saying, I couldn't catch everything. But here is something that I have captured based on our discussion. We have talked about the entire life cycle of a design career. We started from moving into design, staying in design, moving up the career ladder to leadership, and then kind of moving out of design into product management. Almost the entire cycle we have talked about, and even the specific, the unprecedented times that we are in, especially about COVID, how are things, how is hiring happening, portfolios. We have covered a whole gamut of topics today. A few things that stood out to me, and I'm sure our audience would have taken more, is own your career path. Your career is your responsibility. Catch a mentor, do more side projects, check it out. It's okay to have imposter syndrome. We all have. that was fabulous, Vasudha. Um, get an understanding of business from a mindset perspective. Go ahead and be a little more flexible, adaptable, so that you can go ahead and read more. If at all you are getting into the other disciplines like product management, try and see all the skills that are needed for that particular discipline, like sales, taking ownership, accountability, responsibility in that area. This is pretty much what I got it. And if I kind of need to summarize it in like a simple word, it's ABCD. Anybody can design, but the can needs to be highlighted. It's not that you will be able to do it so easily, but there is a possibility. And thank you so much. Yes,
Wonderful,
yes.
Kathy. It's such a fantastic session. Thank you, all of you, all the panelists. You did an amazing job. And Kathy, nobody could have hosted this better than you did. So it's a wonderful session. Thank you, everyone.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Yay, we did it.
Thank
you. Thank you, IPL, for doing such a celebration of design. Is something not we don't go through this every year, but this has been very, very refreshing. Thank you so much for having us today. And this is the best, I think, Saturday evening in a long time. Thank you all. Thank you to Shaik and Ramesh for sharing your thoughts, wisdom, experience, and everything today. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
guys.
We have a small gift for you. Kathy, would you do the honors, please?
Yes, though it is digital, it's a token of love and appreciation for your time and wisdom that you have shared with us, Shaik. You will be in the Hall of Fame of IPL. As of now, you would have already been there. Thank you so much, Stu. This is yours, and they are putting your name up there in the Hall of Fame. Ramesh, thank you very much for spending your time with us today. And of course, Vasudha, it was wonderful having you. The perspectives that you shared was something that we generally don't get to hear. This was awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
And yeah, have an amazing, amazing evening. Whatever weekend is left, enjoy. And yes, I hope we get together again and do more such sessions in the future.
Thank you, everyone.